Hey guys, what's up? Josh here, and I'm here to give you this week's challenge. Now the challenge comes out of Daniel chapter 1. Some backstory: King Nebuchadnezzar has come in, he has taken the Israelites and brought them to Babylon, and he called for all of the best of the young men. And he said, I want the strongest, I want the smartest, I want the healthiest. He brought them in, taught them the new language, trained them in battle, taught them the way of the people, gave them all his good food, his rich food, but it's stuff that they wouldn't have normally eaten. It's stuff that maybe God has called them to not eat. He even changed their names. He gave them names that signified some of these false gods that they worshipped. But then something happens in verse 8, and that's where we pick up. And it says this, Daniel determined that he would not defile himself with the king's food or with the wine he drank. So he asked permission for the chief eunuch to not defile himself. So what we see here is that Daniel is saying, you know what? God's called me to live this way. I don't want to do that. And so he asked for permission. He says, test me, and I'm going to eat only the fruits and vegetables. I'm going to only eat what God wants me to eat and not your food. And test and see if I'm going to be stronger or weaker. The eunuch says, okay, that's fine. So he did for 10 days. 10 days he ate the good food that God has called him to and not the king's food. And we pick up and it says this. It says in verse 15, at the end of the 10 days, they looked better and healthier than all the young men who were eating the king's food. And so the guard continued to remove their food and wine and gave them vegetables. But see, the thing about this is, it's not about being a vegetarian. That's not what God's saying. But what we're getting out of this passage is that it's important to know that even when we're in the midst of the world and they're doing everything that the world does, you see, God's called us to live a certain way. Daniel and his friends recognized that, and he said, listen, God's called me to do this. We need to make a stand. And see, God blessed that. It was because of God that he was healthy and strong. So here's my challenge this week. The challenge is make a stand. Even if the world around you does something else, even if everyone else is doing something, I want you to take one opportunity this week to make a stand and say, I don't care what they're doing. I'm going to do what God wants me to do. Just once. I mean, you can do it more than that. But I want to challenge you to one time. Maybe you see kids cut in line. Maybe you see people making fun of someone else. Maybe everyone else is talking back or cheating or doing all these other things. I want you to make a stand and say, you know what? No. I want to do what God wants me to do. That's your challenge for this week. My prayer is that we let God use us and work in us to make a stand for Him. That's your challenge. Have a good week.